And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hesser, back with another AFL round review. We are 4 rounds into the footy, and boy, has it, or yeah, 4 rounds, if you count opening round. Come on, Coach Hess, there's round 3, even though there's been 4 technical rounds through it. So I will catch myself in my error there. And joining me today, a fun one for me, my Port Adelaide super fan from Brazil. We have Paulo joining to talk the footy. Paulo, it is great to see you again, sir. How are things going in Brazil?
It's great to see you again. I can't again. I can't complain. My life is fine, although the country is not as fine. But yeah, I've seen my country better. I've seen my country worse. So again, it's I want to get in political the political environment, which is maddening. Let's talk about footy, which is a bit less maddening, just a bit.
Just
Uh,
it all depends on who you support, is what I'll say on that.
Again, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Doctor Doctor Jekyll and Mister Hyde is my team, right? So
hmm
it's if you want not to know what's going to happen, right? Following port is the way to go.
Well, let's jump right into it. Before we go individual, we've looked at we discussed it a little bit off mic, but just your thoughts on this round, because a little bit of everything. There are some blowouts, there's some cracking games, there's some weather, there's some inconsistencies. Just your thoughts on the round as a whole.
Yes. Well, I was saying in off. It's those first 4 rounds, and when I say four, now it's five because of this round zero ridiculous thing that the AFL has created, which nobody likes. And when nobody likes is the sign that AFL thinks that yes, that's what we should be doing. And so we have 4 rounds, but it's round three, right? The point is, this first month is basically a preseason for points. So teams are all over the place. They will settle down in next round or one in or one after that, and then things start to get less crazy. Footy, just like soccer or American football, anything can happen in any given Sunday or Saturday in their case. But but again, surprises get fewer and fewer as the season goes on. But now we usually don't know what we're going to get. So we have blowout surprises and teams that we thought that would be good from the get-go, they're struggling, and teams that we expected to come stronger later on, if ever, are winning. So it's kind of those surprises are typical from about this time of the year. So let's jump into the games and see who is surprising and who's not, right?
Well, jump into it as the Port supporter that you are. Let's rip off the Band-Aid as quickly as possible. Let's get it over with. Unfortunately, under the lid at Marvel Stadium, the Essendon Bombers pull out the win by 12, 72-60, coming back from all of the controversy of is this team paying attention and everything like that. And unfortunately, Port Adelaide, the questions resume. Your thoughts as a Port Adelaide man, because as you said, you sat down and watched it, but you almost kind of regretted it.
Do we need do we really need to do this? Okay. So so uh round one, Port was really bad, and then it was we got against Richmond, and the team was really well, and then we got round three, went back to Melbourne, and then bad Port was back again, right? We can say that that there are injuries and stuff, but if we get the preseasons right, against the Crows and against St Kilda, the the team was playing that kind of football. So it's not that much a surprise. It would be more surprising to win against Richmond, unfortunately, than the losses to Collingwood and Essendon. Um, I think that we changed the way we want to play, and players need to get used to the new style. We are supposed to be faster with this handball transition and using the legs and trying to facing the pressure. So we were not trying to escape from pressure, but going towards it and then handballing and trying to find uh, um, space after that. And players seem to be sometimes they're not gelled yet, and it doesn't work. And we are paying the price for that. Will they gel? Will they gel? We don't know. Is a good is this a good way or adequate for the of playing football, especially for our players? I don't know. Well, maybe not in general, but in particular, we don't know. So there are plenty of questions that still need to be answered, and we have these problems of co-coaches. There's one that is leaving, and the other one that is. So who is in charge? So there's always this complications that makes things harder, probably unnecessarily so. And but are seeing that those issues are being explored by the opposition, and we are losing. It's not that Essendon played well; they didn't, but they played better enough to win convincingly against Sport. So that is, it's not an auspicious start of the season.
Yeah, it's just been very back and forth again. And Essendon kind of they're dealing with their own where they're dealing with their own things of is their defense going to get figured out? You have fans giving the Bronx cheers to their own teammates, which is causing pundits all over Australia to kind of lose their mind at Essendon fans. So this was kind of one of those games where it was like Essendon wins the game, but neither team really comes out of it looking great because Essendon fans kind of, like I said, they take a little bit of the brunt of it. Did it really fix anything? And Port Adelaide, as you said, it's the coach in waiting. Is it really messing with the players? Is there some kind of things? Are they really missing Butters that much through the middle? So this is a game I don't Essendon get the 4 points, but nobody really comes out the winner of it, which really stinks for both sides. We'll jump to the next night, Friday night footy, also under the lid at Marvel sees the Western Bulldogs put the Carlton Blues down to 0-3. The Blues, a team that a lot of people had as a finals team, potentially a flag contender, is now 0-3. The Western Bulldogs, the infirmary that is that club with so many injuries, are now 2-1. I got to say this impressive win by the Doggies because Libba and the misfits that are around him are finding ways to win games of football.
It was a better version of the Thursday game. It was still not a well played game, but again, we are in the beginning of the season, the preseason, and it's expecting that teams will be flying is not is unfair. But it was really entertaining. Yeah, and so we had the Blues coming out of spitting fire at the beginning of the game, and then the Dogs go slowly settle down. So the differences stayed the same. So, but there's a game they were striking distance, and suddenly they take little by little they were getting closer and closer and closer. And then in the end, Carlton, it seems that they had no gas in the tank, and then the Blues took over, that the Dogs took over, and won the game. And it was, and for the Blues is like the third so crushing defeat in 3 games. So they are close, right? But never no cigar ever.
Mhm.
So it's kind of and I think that this may be although so it's kind of they are probably the best team without a win by miles. And but the problem is that you don't have time, and maybe you don't you really need to be um believe in the system and in yourself to overcome this kind of start. And I'm not sure the Blues have it
Hmm.
in them. So it's kind of complicated. This could become a hole too big for them
Hmm.
to overcome.
Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating to see how that goes. Hopefully, Harry Mackay is back soon. I know he missed this game for personal reasons, and again, hoping that he's back and he's mentally ready there, and he's back to his best because incredible player, and I think. But this is just a Blues team that honestly, it's another one where their one wood, their contested footy, their crash and bash midfield gets beat up in their one wood. So it's like, what do they do? And I just don't know if Michael Voss really has the answers. His midfield almost seems to come off like one speed. There's not much differentiation. There's not a ton of speed going through the center. So Michael
It
Voss has
really
got a lot of things to figure out, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to figure out it anytime soon. Hopefully he can. But right now, he's got a laundry list of things that he's got to fix, and right now he's having trouble getting started with one, let alone most of this list.
before getting into the dogs, which they deserve their time under the light. The Something that is also not a good news to Blues fan, but it reminds me a bit of Port, and was worked at Port. It's kind of a lot of effort for the team. The effort is there. They fight a lot, but you see this. Then you look at the scoreboard. Where are the points?
Hmm.
Right? So they dominate and get into. Port got me crazy for years. It seems that the game was about inside 50s. So
Hmm.
we have 100 inside 50s and no points. Right, and the Blues seem to, and so they do a lot of effort. So in the yeah, no, and they did score in the first quarter, right? But first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and suddenly, right, you made this huge effort, and the opposition is in striking distance, and you are exhausted, and they come, and I think that what happened in this game. They got really tired. They need to play smarter. They are really playing hard, but they need to play smarter, and I don't know if they can. That's something that they need to find out.
Definitely going to be interesting. That again, the dogs, uh, I got to give them their rap again. They're fighting through injury. No Trelaw, no Bontempelli. Sounds like Waitman could be done for the rest of the year if things are going the way it's going. So, for them to get wins with, like I said, Libba and the Misfits. I mean, I know Sam Darcy's coming out of nowhere. Roy Lobb has still been decent down back. So this is a doggy team again. Plaudits to them. They're winning games they probably shouldn't have, and I was maybe not even expecting them to do with the laundry list of injuries that they have. Let's jump
Yeah.
over to the
So
MCG.
it's two wins and a close loss to Collingwood, right?
Yep.
So the Dogs are is one of the teams that are exceeding expectations
Mhm.
in first
Definitely,
round.
definitely. Let's jump to the MCG where we saw a whooping of titanic proportions because everybody talked about it last year. The Gold Coast Suns cannot win on the road. The Gold Coast Suns cannot win on the road. Well, baby, the Suns are winning on the road, and they're not only winning, they're winning impressively. They took the Melbourne Demons apart in this game by 58, 120 to 62. Is this more impressive what the Suns are doing, or is it more an indictment on what the Demons are not?
Probably a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Um, the Suns are you can see that they are improve. They have been improving season by season, right? I know we have been expecting them to be good since they came in, like um, like how many years ago? 15 years ago?
Mhm.
Uh, mm, no, no, please, no, no, we don't know, so please don't.
pardon the interruption by his son in the podcast here. No problem
Yes.
there. It's
That's
not
my
a problem. I've had cats walk across the screen before.
my
Not a problem.
yeah, but my oldest he has this knack for being an artist and stuff. So he saw a camera on and he wants to get it. But it's fine. It's fine. Um, but then the team get when they it seems that they will finally click, then they lose some players and it all goes down again, right? But it
Mhm,
seems now that they have they are not only a young team, they are more experienced. They have a balanced list. They seem like they finally seem to be like the real deal, right?
mhm,
Um, well, it's and it looks like a team well coached.
mhm,
Um, that under Drew, they had glimpses of it, but never materialized completely. But now they seem to do. Um, and on the other hand, Melbourne seems to be in this hangover from those years at the top, and seems to be that they are in need of well, they have talent enough to rebound in the season, but the more I see them, it seems that they will need to plan a rebuild and go again. It could be unfair, but it's the impression that I have at the time that that fire is not there for them. Maybe some changes are necessary for the Demons to um, become the contender that they were a few years back.
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think the infusion of the youngsters and just the regression personally for me of their superstars, I think is what's really kind of putting them in this situation that they're in because two massive heavy losses and really I'm not seeing a lot of green shoots coming from it. Yes, they're bloody youngsters. They are. But right now the youngsters is the problem isn't the youngsters. The problem is their veteran players are just not playing well enough. Petraka's not playing well enough. Gaughan's not playing well enough. Oliver's not playing enough. Viney's not playing well enough. And that's the problem. And I just don't know how to fix it. And I really don't know if Goodwin knows how to fix it. Right now, he's throwing everything at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. And right now, nothing is sticking. And it's really difficult because this was a once mighty Demons team that was constructed very well. I mean, they won a premiership in the in the last 5 years, but unfortunately, it has come crashing down. We'll have to see. Does this group stay together over this offseason? Can Goodwin find a way to turn their tables around? Because if not, this could be a very long year for those of the old Royal of the red and blue. It'll be fascinating on that one. Jump back to Marvel Stadium as the St. Kilda Saints show that the Geelong game was not a fluke as they put a whooping on the Richmond Tigers 135-53. Unfortunately, the Blues are kicking themselves even more that this Tigers team gave them the one win, I think might be the one win they have this season. Saints looking impressive. I gotta say, it's great seeing this Saints side up and about. Ross Lyon maybe has started to open up the offensive game a little bit with good, solid, stingy defense.
Yeah, that's something that a Rosal Lion team scoring like St. Kilda is doing is like a bizarro world.
Uh-huh.
What, what's going on, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and I'm not. Yeah, I hope it's a fluke because I don't want them to play like that next week, right? Um, but it was kind of scary.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
And I know that the Richmond is not it's I thought they would come a bit better this season, but it seems that they have the West Coast disease. Um, so they will remain bad for another season. They played the Blues, they won, and it was, oh, maybe this time. But then again, it seems to be those kind of crazy first round results more than a statement that Richmond made in that game. It's a start of the season, a derby, anything can happen, and it seems that something happened. um, but it was good for Richmond for the points, but not for the expectations. That seems that it was just a one-off, right?
Mhm.
That they won't be able to sustain that. That will remain in the bottom four and see what's going on, which is kind of sad because we just watched their dynasty. It seems that they would keep winning forever. They would become the New England Patriots of Australia, but they became the New England Patriots of Australia, but the current version of the New England Patriots, not the
No, completely get it. It is one of those where it's like again, they cut to the bone. They let Baker go. They let Bolton go. They let several players Danny Rowley from the Gold Coast. Um they let a lot of the senior go. There's still some senior players there, but they are banking on putting a lot of time into the youth. And again, will it bear fruits over the next couple of seasons? We'll have to see. Again, green shoots may be very slim, but there's still the possibility. The Saints were very impressive. Again, seeing the ball movement, seeing Nasiah Wangini Miller literally show why he is one of the best halfbacks in the entire competition. He's literally been a supernova since he's come in. Seeing Rowan Marshall back to his best after an iffy game the first round against Adelaide. I think he was still coming back from injury, but he's shown his superpowers through the center. Seeing this young team, this young St. Kilda team, just absolutely get after it is going to be fun. Again, can they keep it up? It'll be fascinating to see. But again, I kind of agree with you. It's a little bit of who they played, why the score is what it is. But again, you can't take it away. This is a St. Kilda team. When they're clicking, they could be incredibly lethal. Let's jump to the next one. We'll jump down to Tasmania at the University of Tas Stadium as the Hawks keep the undefeated streak going, knocking off the Giants 76-64. And I know a lot of the announcers, one of the biggest things that they want to talk about is the wind. And I get it. Okay. The wind is going to affect this game, but this was still a cracking game of football, despite the fact that GWS jumped out to a huge lead in the first quarter and the Hawks just chipped away, got the lead, and then strangled this sucker like an anaconda. But I got to admit, the Hawks look impressive. They're winning games of football, no matter if it's in Tasmania, it's on the road at Sydney, or it's at home at the MCG. This Hawks team right now are stamping themselves as one of the teams to look for at the flag. But this is still a very good Giants team that I think on the day, a few things just didn't go their way. Be fascinating to see how both these teams progress because this was an incredible game of footy. Do I think we were robbed of something like some of the footy announcers say? No, I don't think we were. I just think footy is played outside, gentlemen. Sometimes the wind's going to mess with it. You just have to deal with it, okay?
I
I, I'm
I
kind of
agree
tired
with
of
you
this overall,
100%.
like the wind ruined the game. No, it didn't. The wind didn't ruin the game. In fact, the wind made a couple of things. I mean, Will Day has a goal of the year now, goal of the year candidate because of the wind.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't understand why they play with the roof closed in when the weather is perfect in Melbourne and at Marvel. I think that it's football, right? The
Oh yeah.
conditions are what they are. I know that the first game that I saw with wind, some 8 years ago, I kept wonder why they don't switch sides after every goal, right? But then again, it would make it would be right. So you scored in the wind, now it's my turn, and then at
That'd
least.
be fun.
Uh, But then again, but they switch after in quarters. So what you have is that okay, now I played with the wind in my back. Now you play, and it's precisely what happened. And by the end of the day, Hawthorne was better than GWS. That's so I don't think that the wind robbed nothing. You just need to sit and watch the game for what it is.
Mhm.
So you're gonna see a team, kicking the ball way forward, and the other team trying to handball its way towards the other side because you cannot kick because the ball keeps coming back like a boomerang. Uh, but but then again, it's the challenge, right? You need to
Mhm.
be better than the opposition in both in both ways, and that's what the Hawks did. They are used to playing Lawson. Like, how do you pronounce the name of this?
Launceston.
Launceston, thank you.
Yep,
And
no problem.
they're used to play there in Launceston, and it's really tough to play there. So they have this advantage, and again, home field advantage. It's supposed to be used, and they used properly, and they took advantage and won. And I think that it's perfectly fine, and I don't understand those criticisms at all.
Yeah, I just think they're so used to these massive stadiums where the wind is kind of taken out of account. And now that when you get it with stadium that doesn't have 50-foot walls that kind of blocks out to where you get a little wind inside, but not very much. And I just think it's really messed with them. Like, and my thing is being a women's footy lover, like AFL have to deal with this type of stuff in every single game. So I kind of the whining and the whinging is kind of funny to me because I'm like, didn't is footy is an outdoor sport as a whole. Why all of a sudden now does something that's natural, wind, not why is it such a travesty? Like I get it, but it's just very, very frustrating. So I want to move on
No,
because that one
but
that
but
one really
but it's
rubs
not
me the
all.
wrong way.
It's not only in Australia. You know that in American football, people say those kind of things. In soccer, people say those kind of things, and I get mad. It's especially and I'm from South America, right?
Hmm.
So the games here in South America, so you need to play, and then you are in. Uh, you go to play in La Paz, which is
Hmm.
7,000 feet, and then you go to to the middle of the jungle, like 100 degrees and humid, and then you go to Chile, with it's dry and cold, and it's part of it's part of the challenges.
Hmm.
And no, we need to have the field the same size. No, because some are small, some are big,
Yep.
and the best teams will adjust and overcome those
Hmm.
difficulties, right?
Agreed.
The idea that it needs to be all this, the field needs to be the size of the MCG. Everybody, no. If it's windy, if it's rainy, if it's dry, if it's hot, it's cold. Go embrace it.
Mhm.
At least it's my opinion, and I think that yeah, I like that you don't have the suburban state anymore, but you still have those games that give a bit of uh, seasoning
Mhm.
to 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 football, and I love that.
No, 100% with you. Just I love when things aren't absolutely perfect. Because it tests the players. So I'm 100% with you. So speaking of a game that was not 100% perfect, and the score maybe even reflects it a little bit, as the Brisbane Lions at home at the Gab up in Brisbane knock off the Cats by 9, 70-61. But for me, this is another one of those where Brisbane's kind of got Sydney fever from last year, is the fact that their first halves are atrocious. They are falling down by double digits quickly and early. They're finding a way to crawl back and win, but I'm not sure if that's something that they want to continue to do. They did it in the finals last year to win a grand final. Congratulations, but it is a tough way to win your games of footy because you have to use so much energy to come back. So I look at it like this: Brisbane, impressive win. Cats kind of fell apart a little bit in the second half. The wet weather footy definitely threw off this game a little bit. There was a lot of drop marks, a lot of fumbling. Brisbane figured it out. But man, if I'm Brisbane, I'm a little concerned because you can't have this many slow starts to start the season. It's going to wear your gas tank out just that little bit much more.
Again, another one that is really hard to play in hot, humid. He likes play. It's like playing football with a soap. It's really hard to grab the ball. Um, the Lions are they are more used to it than the Cats. But again, it seemed that the home team was the Cats at the beginning, and then Brisbane remember how to play. Well, Collingwood made a whole season like that. That you say, oh,
Mhm.
now they were gonna lose, and they kept winning. Okay, now this is the time, right? And then they would find different ways of winning every single time. And it seems that the Lions are on this path as well. I don't know if it seems to be a skill, but it feels like luck, and I haven't made my mind about that. Maybe it's a really long streak of luck, but I don't know. And I know it's a really talented team. They're not the defending champion for for nothing. So they are still the team to beat. And they and if you allow them one inch to go back and get back into the game, they will. And sometimes is that what happened, right? They're so good, and you make a whole effort to take the lead and build up that you are like a bit like the Blues before, but in a different way. And then you are tired because you need to do that. They may they the Lions oblige you to be your best, and that can be tiresome. And if you are not ready, your team is still with young players, even players that you know that they can be good at their best, but they are not consistent. If you have a team full of those, that you're gonna oscillate. Yeah, and I think that the Cats are like a bit like that. It's going to be that they will down a stretch of the game, and the Lions will take that as an advantage, and they won't give the game back to you, and that seems what has happened in Saturday, right?
Mhm. Yep.
At
Yeah.
least my impression. You may have a different one.
No, no, it is one. It's going to be fun to watch this Lions team again. This is one of those. I felt bad for those in Australia because both this and the Hawthorn game were both on at the same time. You have four teams. A lot of people were talking about being top of the ladder this year, all playing at the same time. It was a little bit crazy.
I
So it was
I
kind
have no idea how they
of
responsible for the
well,
schedule. Still
well
have a job. He still has a job.
The Brisbane Cats game, the reason that one played at the same time is because that one was the it was the Cyclone Alfred switch. So that's why it was because both Brisbane and Geelong were supposed to have their bye week in round three, but because they both had it free, that's why they moved their opening round game to there. So that's kind of that. From what I hear, that's the explanation is they kind of had to put it in that time because it was one of the only times. So it did kind of stink for the fans a little bit watching having both games on at the same time, but it was one of those. It was kind of a logistical nightmare. So I think that's kind of how that turned out
I
that way.
could give the AFL right the you know benefit of the doubt if they didn't have the custom to put two games at the same time on Saturday night.
Yep.
That's something that they do all the time.
Hmm.
Um, so So especially if it's interstate game, and they put one well, a Melbourne game with an interstate game in Saturday, both Saturday night. So we're giving you you see a prime time. Yeah, but it's not exclusive, right? It's kind of So maybe there's something there, but they do that all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't think I can forgive them
No,
for
I
this.
get it. No, I get it. It's one of the it's one of those that it's kind of the path that they lead, unfortunately. So let's jump over to the Adelaide Oval. We have the Crows again in wicked hot form, putting up the points. They have now put up over 400 points in 3 games as they get a win over North, 114-78. But I'm going to say this before we get to it. Crows were magnificent. I don't think the Roos were that bad. I think the Roos played with it. This is just a very good Crows team that just they punish you every single time you make a mistake. They put the scoreboard up and they tick it up very, very well. Now, this is North again, so you got to take it with a little bit of salt. But again, right now the Crows are looking absolutely magnificent. But when they face one of the elite teams, the Hawthorns, the GWSs, the Brisbanes, the Cats, let's see how they go. Because if they can put up these kind of points and still be this good defensively, watch out for the Crows. But again, do not sleep. I think the Roos actually played a really good game. They just ran into a super hot Adelaide Crows team at this time again. All plaudits to both teams. Thought this was a pretty good game despite the 36-point margin.
Yeah, this is the other game of the round that I didn't want to talk about.
The port fan showing his port.
But yes, the North was way North was good, which makes this Adelaide win a more impressive than it was. Okay, North was good for what in comparison for what we were expecting North to be. There's also that. But then again, you can see that North it, it reminded me of the Brisbane right before becoming a
Mhm.
contender.
Yep.
So they were losing game week after week after week. But when you watch the game,
Mhm.
um, you see that the Lions were really organized, that the players were doing what the coach were asking them to do. They were not doing as well as they should, but they would keep their organization, the order. The team wouldn't get crazy because they were losing. So I think that North is in that direction. So they are. It seems like they are more concerned now playing well than winning the games. So of course everybody wants to win, but no, if we don't, it's fine if we play correctly.
Mhm.
And they did that. So they kept playing correctly the whole game. They made Adelaide earn the win and earn the dominance. So it wasn't like walking in the park. They did to win like that. Adelaide needed to put their best there,
Mhm.
and North made them do that. If Adelaide wasn't uh, focus on the game. If there was a day off, it could have become yeah, an ugly game, right? Or beautiful, from my perspective. But but although I was there watching it, hoping that somehow the crow's wheels would fall off, it never did. So they came up with a fair win. Congratulations to the West Lakes.
Would definitely be fun. And then the last one, the Western Derby, is Fremantle get a nice win over their Perth rivals, West Coast Eagles, 106-68. I mean, Fremantle get themselves on track. But again, West Coast right now, the thing that's really hard is that Harley Reid's trying to be a bully, and which he's not. And West Coast just really got flustered really easily. Fremantle played their game and got it done. Again, another Western Derby goes awry for the Eagles.
Uh, I I wish I could say that I understand what's going on with the Eagles because I don't. They always seem to be a well organized club from top to bottom, top class. right? So it seems that they had this uh, goat touch that
Hmm.
everything they would do, it would work. Yeah, okay, that they would have they could have one bad season too, but they would immediately rebound like Sydney or Geelong. And suddenly they went down and they don't seem able to come back. Yeah, and it's amazing. I don't know what's happening. It's kind of why aren't you being like you always be? I would need to talk with a Eagles fan to explain this because it seems like right you're not supposed to be that down, right? You have the you have the fans, you have the money, you have the yeah this whole history of doing things right. Right. So you go and you build a roster correctly, and then, well, you lose some pieces, but then you get some back and you rebound. And I don't know what's going on there.
Hmm.
It wasn't so. You would expect this from the clubs that usually struggle because they don't have a big amount of support and so North Footscray um Gold Coast and such, but the Eagles I don't get it. And Freo is supposed to do that, right? Since you're being bad, let me destroy you as they should, although Frail is a nutcase. They are supposed to be way better than they are, so they are the reverse of West Coast, right? Why aren't you as good as your neighbor, right? It's and seems to be this is the year, and it never materializes. Maybe this win can, but then again, it's such a weak West Coast side that it doesn't tell us much about Freya, right? That's so I hope because I have some Freya friends and they suffer a lot. Um, maybe some they could Freo is it's like Port of the West, so there is this kind of mutual understanding there,
Hmm.
but but again, yeah, we expect that, guys, we are there, right? We are not as good as we thought we should, but we are at least at the top half of the ladder. Why aren't you guys there, right? And it seems that they don't know. They can't find their footing. Maybe this uh if they don't simply get, we own the state and that's enough for us, maybe they can go further this year, but I don't know. I would need to see more from Freo to beginning to trust them.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. It's still really early again. You kind of look at West Coast's performances earlier this year, and it's not a lot. Like it's one of those you click it over because you're supposed to. Now let's move on. Let's move on to the other one. It's again, West Coast is just a team that I think 2020 and how they handled the hubs just has sent them into a tailspin that I've never seen, that we've never seen this club go through. Because, and a little bit too of after 2018's flag, I think they thought they could keep themselves in flag contention. So they kept a lot of senior players that I think maybe, just maybe, they might have moved on with a little bit earlier than they did. And it kind of has put them in this little hole. They're slowly getting out of it, but unfortunately, it is crawling like a snail and not moving very quickly. It'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. So that is all 8 games. The other two teams, Sydney, and can't remember right off the top of my head who was the other team that got the bye
Colin,
this week. Collingwood, yes, Collingwood. both had a nice seat on the couch and watched the footy. So let's jump to the next section of the podcast, the burning questions. I'm interested to hear what you think on this, Paolo, on this. So we'll start with we'll do a little bit of negative, then some positive, and then we'll have some fun with your beloved Port Adelaide. So we'll start off in the negative. Should Carlton or Melbourne be more worried about their early season form so far?
I think both, although um I would be um it could be my impression, right? I would be more
Mhm,
worried if I were a demon fan. Uh I don't but that's because I don't think I think more of Voss than I do of Goodwin. I don't think Goodwin is a good coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. So if he has the right pieces and everything is
mhm,
well falling in place, he's able of take the team to a flag as he
mhm,
did. But when things just start to get a bit off, he struggles to find he's not creative enough to find to adapt, to adjust, and to find solutions. So
mhm,
he's more dependent on his players than in a way that he forms the team. But I can be wrong. I have been wrong a lot in my life. So if people can argue that no, I get wrong, he's a better coach than I'm giving credit for him. I would humbly listen. I think that Voaz is a better coach. It doesn't mean that he will be able to find answers for Carlton, but then again, I don't think that Carlton was the best that Carlton has played in eons have been under now than before,
mhm,
and having a bad year can happen to anyone. So maybe I would be a bit more patient, although it's easy to say to be patient but Carlson is again is one of the big four. They are supposed to be contenders year in, year out, and have been ages since they were able to do that regularly. So patience is something that they don't have. But I would hold on a bit and try to give support to the players because it has been painful close losses, right? And if you put more pressure on that, it could backfire. So I think that maybe in the next 2, 3 rounds, maybe is go give full support and see what happens, and then we'll think if it's time to get crazy and stuff, or things start to get better. I mean, get a win, and then confidence builds up. And yeah, again, you see, there has been history of good teams rebounding from bad starts. Sydney had not long ago a 06
2017, they were
start,
0-6. Yep.
right? And they made finals and went deep, right? So it was crazy. So and so a '03 is not a hole that it's impossible to overcome. So could take a deep breath and support the team. And yeah, I I think that there's more chance for the Blues to rebound than the D's.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you more is because I think expectation wise, the Blues had higher expectations. The Blues were talked about as a flag favorite. The Blues were talked about as a top four. I think Melbourne, it depends on who you talk with. There were people that thought Melbourne was still in that realm. They were still top four, top six. Then there were some people that were like, Melbourne's going to take a tumble just because of the fact that they really have not had their entire group together the last couple of years. Is Petrarca in the right headspace? Is Oliver in the right headspace? Is Gone declining compared to what he has been? Can Viney hold the ship together? Are there enough youngsters? Can they score? That's the biggest thing for Melbourne is can they score? Because they go inside 50 all the time. They just can't score. So for me, I agree with you. I think it's Carlton only because you lost to Richmond round one, which most people thought Richmond was going to get lucky to win a game, and they lose their first game of the season. And then you lose a couple of games where you were in it. You also lose to a Western Bulldogs team that, again, is being held together with any adhesive they can find with some of the major injuries that they have out. So for me, I look at it, I think I agree with you. I think Carlton is the bigger worry because who they've lost to and the expectations that were there. Melbourne, a little bit of, I think the chickens are coming home to roost with this team. I think that we've finally seen the end of this group together. Honestly, it will not shock me if over this offseason either Petraka or Oliver gets shipped out to get assets to be able to begin the rebuild. And I know Melbourne fans don't want to hear that because they had so many years in the doldrums. They want to keep it. But I think you may have to restart it a little bit by moving an Oliver or a Petraka to get significant assets in the door that are younger and that can bring maybe a little bit of a change. Will we see a coaching change at Melbourne? I don't know. It'll be fascinating. But I agree with you. I think Carlton is the bigger worry because I think Melbourne's already been on the decline. I think they'll occasionally have that incredible, but Carlton, it's the expectations now are the reason why I would be more concerned. We'll go to the positive part of my questions is, and I know everybody loves to jump the shark. So I preface this with a grain of salt as I ask this question. Should Hawthorn be considered the flag favorite with that impressive win over GWS in Launceston?
No. I think it's too soon. I still think that Brisbane is the favorite. Uh, I I think Hawthorn is one of the teams that I think that had this incredible year out of nowhere, and it's hard to repeat in the second season. Usually you go up, then down, and then up again, and then you stay at the top for a while. I think they have the talent. I think that their roster is not right, but almost. So they're getting there. Yeah, I think they will become flag favorites soon. Yeah, but even if it's this year, it's going to be later in the season, but not now.
I'm kind of with you. I hate this flag favorites because I think Sydney had a lot of it last year where the first 10 rounds of the season, Sydney's gonna get there. It's who's gonna meet him in the grand final. And I think it kind of the air got let out of the tires in that later part of the season. So I'm interested to see does Hawthorn have that struggle later. Like they're beating people, they're winning impressively now. Round 12 through 18, do we see some struggles? Do they kind of come back to the pack a little bit? Again, I agree with you. Like I said, right now, jumping the shark, yes, they're a flag contender. But we're 4 games into the season. Let's pump the brakes just the tiniest bit. Let's let every team play 5 games. Let's see some form. Let's see them face a Brisbane. Let's see them face a Carlton. Let's see them face a tough, a little bit maybe of a little bit of a tougher test before we jump to that. So let's have some fun. As the port man that you are, I always like asking a question about your team since I know that's what you love to talk about. So tell me this, as a Power fan, are you as puzzled about the form of your team right now when it's kind of been a yo-yo, good, bad?
Um, no, I can't say that I'm surprised. I can't say that I'm disappointed because I try. I'm sport wise, I'm very pessimistic. I try to keep my, I always think that the worst is going to happen. So if it happens, okay, I was prepared. If not, great, right? Though, so
Hmm.
the team. Uh,
Pleasantly surprised type of fan.
so I haven't been for expecting anything big from the team for a while, especially since the 2018 season, which the team seemed to be heading to a great season, and suddenly everything falls off, and the team went from a top two finish to miss finals. It is still today the only team that went 11-4 and missed finals.
Mhm.
Um, so it's because it seems that it's a problem from almost a decade now, that when the heat comes up and the expectations become higher, Port flats out. It's a yeah, I don't know if it's a problem of confidence, and you can see that in games. Sometimes the team enters in standby and get rollover. And what happened? It's like the club, the whole club has ADHD.
Mhm.
Uh, Suddenly, oh look, a butterfly, and and the other team starts scoring, and 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 the way the season was made, right? This is Hinckley last season, and then Carl's going to come up, and it seems that the focus is somewhere else, right? So it's so the focus is this goodbye. So it's a farewell tour. We're playing games to win, and then comes this idea in the preseason. Let's do something different. Let's change our way of playing. I know it was lacking, right? There something was lacking, and there was a need to change. But then again, if you were doing that in the farewell season, right? If it's your last season, why change now? At least you know that it's not great, but at least it's good enough to put you in the
Mhm.
pretenders zone. Well, stay there, right? And then next season with a new person, we can see what they're gonna do different. But I think that we are trying to do everything at the same time, and this means that we're going to do nothing. And this could be the reason why the team is struggling to gel. Of course,
Mhm.
when you miss players like Butters, it's
Yep.
get things a bit more complicated because the guy is a beast. But you can see that other beasts are not playing as beasts as they should. You see Rosie getting the ball, but not you don't see those sparkles that he's able to do it. SPP, which is a player that I love, but he looks like someone that hasn't played for a while, and he hasn't played for a while, and he needs this to because he relies a lot on in his physicality. But if he gets late, what he's going to get is a late hit, and then being punished and missing more games because of that. So it's kind of we lost players in defense, and then that's been showing too. Busy T's out, and then the team is struggling because then Alir needs to do something else, and he's not, instead of roaming defense. And we start and teams start to explore this weaknesses, and I think Hinkley, what I said about a good win works for Hinkley too. He's not a bad coach, but he's not great, and he has an idea. When the idea works, the team can beat anyone anytime. But if it doesn't work, he struggled to adjust. So it's and I think that happens against Collingwood. I think that happened against Essendon with with Richmond, we went there, we had a plan. Richmond couldn't stop us, and we just worked like a bulldozer. But that has been what Port. Since I've been following Port, that's been the story, right? We look like 1 million bucks when everything is on, but we can't find it consistently because teams have opposition bring different demands. The coaches can be more creative and do something different, and we get lost. So it doesn't surprise me the way the season is going. It's disappointing because I wanted them to be good, but it's not. But not disappointing in a way that I've been expecting
Mhm.
more.
Yeah, it's just been very inconsistent, unfortunately. Like again, it's still early in the season. Maybe things will ride out. Again, there's still a lot of things up there. Butters is still to come back, so a lot of things still in the air. But again, it's got to be frustrating because I think the list is good. I think there's a lot of things to be positive, happy about, but it's just again something's just not clicking. So I completely get that. So that is it for the burning questions. We move on to the team of the week again. This is a lot of fun for me. This is my little bit of homework that I do over the off season. So, Paolo, what I do is I tend to lean a little bit more on scoring goals and scoring assists a little bit. So sometimes you're going to hear some names that maybe you don't always hear some of the analytics shows or some of the pundits talk about. So here we go. We start on the back line. In the full back line, Hawthorne's Josh Weddle, GWS's Harry Himmelberg, and Brisbane's Dane Zorko. On the halfback line, we see Essendon's Mason Redmond, Melbourne's Jake Bowie, and Gold Coast's John Noble. On the wings, because I give the wings some love here, I have Jai Simpkin of the North Melbourne Kangaroos and Frio's Nathan O'Driscoll. Through the center at the rock position, we see Rowan Marshall. Through the guts, we see Gold Coast Tuke Miller, GWS's Toby Bedford. Yes, I put a tagger in here because when you kick 2 goals as a tagger, you gotta get a little bit of love. And Patrick Dangerfield of the Geelong Cats. On the forward line, half forward line, we see St. Kilda's Mitch Owens, Gold Coast Ben King, and Adelaide's Tex Walker. At the full forward line, we have Nick Larkey of the North Melbourne Kangaroos, Carlton's Brody Kemp, and GWS's Jesse Hogan. On the bench, as I do normally, defender, ruck, midfielder, and forward, one from each position. My defender is Jordan Clark of the Fremantle Dockers. My ruckman is Fremantle's Luke Jackson. My midfielder is Brisbane's Will Ashcroft, and my forward is Jayamis from the Fremantle Dockers. I know that's a lot of names. Really quickly, real quick thoughts on this week's team of the week.
Well, one thing that I saw is that you don't have any problem in picking players from losing sides, even if the team played badly. Which, but then again, a team can play badly. And some players still play well, right?
Mhm.
But you see that, yeah, and it's spread out among the games. I think that I could be mistaken, but Port Essendon may be the only game that didn't get any name in it in the list.
I think I'd have to dive through it. I'd have to dive through it again because I think, yeah, because Essendon didn't get anybody.
Yeah, Essendon and Port didn't get anybody, but I thought
Yeah,
that I I I
I
may
think I think you might be right. I think that's the
I may
only I
have
think that's
missed
the only
one
one that
game
did.
for
Yeah, I think that's the only one that didn't, which is really interesting because Brisbane and Geelong play in wet weather, and GWS and Hawthorn play in windy weather. But that's a good call on that. Sometimes that's just the way it goes off. I know Fremantle got a little bit of love in this one. Maybe it's because they play West Coast, so they put up some good
but
numbers on that one. Like I said, Tuke Miller kicking three out of the center, and then Toby Bedford being a tagger and kicking 2 goals. Dangerfield kicking 2 goals through the middle. Rowan Marshall, like I said, back to his powers. It was a fun round for me because the defenders I think this is one of the records for most defenders that kicked a goal. So I kind of had a little bit of fun trying to pick and choose on that one. So no, it was a lot of fun. The team of the week is always an interesting one. But yeah, I think you got me on that one. Essendon Port, I think was the only game I didn't get a player in.
no,
Again,
but it's yeah, but it didn't deserve to have anyone in the.
At least you're honest.
But
At least you're
it
honest.
could have been other games without names, right?
This is true.
But it was nice to see spread out
Yeah.
through the game. So it's kind of paying
Yeah.
attention,
Yeah.
trying to not be we all have prejudices, right? So, but
Mhm.
you're trying to we need to try to overcome them, right? And it seems that this list was something like, yeah, I'm gonna, even though I don't think that you did it, thinking that you would spread out. I don't think that you looked at the games fairly, and then the names
Yeah,
came
I go
up.
through a little bit of watching the games and then go through
Mhm.
some statistic stuff just to kind of double check to be sure because sometimes there are games that are really good that if you look back at it statistically it isn't as impressive statistically, but I will give them a little bit of a tick because I know that they made impacts even though they may not have had 25 disposals. If they've got only 18 disposals but their disposals were big, then sometimes I will give them a little bit of a tick.
Yes,
So
there are things that stats can't,
oh yeah, completely
unfortunately,
agree.
but
Completely
there are
agree.
things that stats can't show.
And I've seen some fantastic 15 disposal games before. I've seen some players only have like
Yeah,
15
there,
disposals,
there,
but be
there are
incredibly
players.
impactful.
There are players there that the rest of the team played well because the guy was there.
Yep.
But he didn't get the ball. What he was doing, he was moving around. He was
Hmm.
opening his spaces. He
Yep.
was chasing. And then you see, but well, the guy was there,
Hmm.
right? And the team is moving around, and it's it seems that, but there was a player there tagging him, and he was running around, taking the tagger away, and then opening up space to others. I can't get the ball because I have this guy with me all the time, but he allowed everybody else to play. And the stats will show that, oh, the guy was nothing, but actually um, that wasn't the case. So the eye test plus the stats are necessary for a full evaluation.
Hmm. Nope. So we will end the podcast like we normally do. I know we're still early in the week, but we go through and we pick our winners for the next round. So round four is coming up as we usually tip. So if you don't mind, Paulo, let's have some fun. Let's see how we go. We'll start off Friday night footy, MCG, the old rivalry kicks back up into gear as Collingwood host the Carlton Blues at the MCG. Your thoughts? Who do you like in this game? Collingwood, Carlton.
Poor, poor Carlton. We're talking about here, giving the opportunity for them to rebound and having, But then again, if there's a game that could bring you back on track, is this one, right? So it's um Pies against the Blues. I think it's the biggest rivalry for both teams. Um and Yeah, as Collingwood would be, if I would pick with had say Pies, but heart says Blues. I will stay with the hat this time.
Okay.
Mag.
I'm gonna tip the pies in this one only because I thought last week was that perfect opportunity for Carlton to get a win. Unfortunately, you get a Collingwood team that's coming off a bye, so they're a little bit they're a little bit fresher. Carlton had to deal with that sauna that was their game under the roof at Marvel. So it'd be interesting to see will we see after effects on that. So I'm gonna tip the pies in this one, hoping the Blues can get it done because it'd be interesting to see the Pies fans lose their stuff to an lose their absolute stuff if a zero win Carlton team knocks them off because it's always fun to see Collingwood Magpies fans lose their stuff. So it's fun on that one. But tip the Pies on this one, hoping the Blues not only make it competitive but can pull a rabbit out of the hat on that one. We jump down to Geelong Southern Victoria GMHBA Stadium as the Cats host the Reeling D's on this one. I will tip the Cats. I think the Cats a little bit too good. Played a better opponent, much more competitive. D's absolutely got smashed by Gold Coast. Right now they are in shambles. There's too many questions. Cats too good an outfit under Coach Scott. I think I like the Cats in this one.
Uh, yes, especially because the game is in Gardenia,
Mhm.
in Gardenia Park instead of MCG,
Yep.
which could, give Melbourne some advantage, but I think that the Cats will simply obliterate. And the Demons, I don't think this game will be close at all. I know the Demons have the talent and stuff, but it's really hard to play
Mhm.
in that long and narrow field in Geelong.
Yeah.
And the Cats know how to play there, and I think that it will end up being being the difference between the
GMHBA Stadium is definitely, as you said earlier, when you have a home field advantage, you use it. An absolute cracking game. I'm almost disappointed that this is the first game of Saturday afternoon down in Australia as Gold Coast hosts the Crows at People's First Stadium up on the Gold Coast. This is going to be an absolute cracker. Who do you like in this one?
This is probably the best game of the round. Um,
I agree.
it's which is yeah, interesting time slot for the game. I know at Gold Coast they have problems bringing crowds. Although it must be said that the Suns have better crowds than the Titans, the um, NRL team in Gold Coast. So it's kind of and people say, oh, but it's for interstaters that go there and watch the games. They have more members too. So the Suns, from a Queenslander Gold Coast perspective, is actually a successful club. We must have that in mind. But again, they are playing really well. This game should be for TV. I think that it's going to be close. But I never pick the Crows, and I
Mhm.
won't do. So Suns.
I'm gonna tip the Suns in this one. The Suns are really, really good at home. Crow's first time going away from home to a more competitive opponent. I'll say it that way. Crows sometimes travel, not always the best. I'm gonna tip the Suns in this one, but this I agree with you. This could be game of the round up in the Gold Coast. Cannot wait for this one. Interesting little matchup here at the MCG as Richmond hosts Brisbane Lions. Brisbane, this is a perfect opponent for Brisbane at this point to kind of get their mojo back, maybe have a better start. Gonna tip Brisbane. This could be Brisbane big if they show up. They cannot, absolutely cannot go down double digits in this game because it's going to be an indictment on Chris Fagan on this team. If you go down to Richmond by double digits in the first half, Brisbane, and I'm guessing Brisbane big for me.
It's the second biggest difference in odds when in betting. It's just but Brisbane is playing away, right?
Mhm.
The other one is the GWS at home against the Eagles. But so it's a really so Richmond is a humongous underdog at the MCG.
Mhm.
So it says a lot about how the clubs, the moment of those clubs. Again, I believe that the Lions are. I've said that they are the team to beat. They are the flag favorites, and they are ripe for a repetition. Although it's really hard, especially finals are crazy. So it doesn't mean that they are going to win, but this time, if Richmond wins, it's going to be a humongous upset. And I don't see it coming. So I'll pick Brisbane. If it's going to be a blowout or a close game, I don't know. Maybe Richmond is able to put up a fight, but not enough to win.
Mhm. No, well, 100. I think Richmond will be tough. Like I said, it'll be horrible if Brisbane goes down double digits in this one. This one terrifies me. This next one, as North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium hosts the Swans, coming off the bye round. As a Swans fan, this is a terrifying game because unfortunately Tommy Papley is now out injured. So that doesn't help my confidence. And a North Melbourne team that I think is playing really good football. Have they won all the games they probably should have? No, but this is a scary game. I'm gonna tip Sydney because I know most people are going to tip Sydney because experienced team for the most part, playing a rather younger team. But this will be interesting. Luke Parker's first crack at his old club in the blue and white for North Melbourne. This is going to be a cracking game. I am terrified as a Swan supporter. Gonna tip Sydney, but I'm terrified. What are your thoughts?
I I agree that you should be terrified. It's well, there are different kinds of being terrified, right? The West Coast Eagles fans should be terrified that they're going to play TWS in Sydney. But that's a different kind of being terrified, right? This supposed to be a those entertaining games that go on, changing, so go to go and teams switching leads during the game. I think that it has potential to be a ripper, really interesting game um, yeah, in the morning, Sunday morning, for me at least.
Mhm.
And because I think that they're not good teams, but they're not bad teams, and they could match well. And I think North being organized in order with their heads straight, City coming from the bye with fresher legs. It's going to be interesting. I will pick I will pick North because someone needs to pick North. Uh,
I
so
like that logic. That logic is great.
I like right, nobody knows the North song. They never heard of it. So maybe it will be played on Saturday. Let's see. I will go with the Kangaroos.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Like I said, I've got several Roos fans. That's going to be a fun one. I don't think I'm jumping too high a limb here. You got the Giants beating West Coast at NG Stadium in Sydney.
Uh, I don't know why the Eagles will fly there, right? Maybe because they were obliged, so there will be some punishment if they stay in Perth. But yeah, so it's kind of they're really there. You see, it seems that they're they it's going to be ugly. Especially if the Giants played that kind of Giants football that I love, which is completely disrespectful of their opponents. They like to be physical and dirty and stuff, and I love that. And but which is kind of, and people say, this is disrespectful. I don't think so. If you do that, you were respecting the opponent the most. Because you're saying that I need to do this in order to win. Um, but I think that it will be a good lesson to, I think that it's going to be a pedagogical trip to Sydney that the Eagles are doing there. And then just take the lessons and go back home. But this probably is going to be the biggest percentage in the round if the Giants wanted to.
Yeah, no, 100% with you. Giants for me just too good. Again, Eagles just they cannot make up their minds whether they want to pull their heads out of a body cavity. I can't say on this podcast. So, fun one for you. This is your head versus heart one on this one. Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide, St. Kilda. Were you going to tip your power, or are you going to give them some inspiration and tip the Saints?
I I never pick the Crows, and I'll always pick Port. And when I say I never pick the Crows, it would be Crows against Eagles at Adelaide Oval. I would pick the Eagles. Okay, it's that level of never.
You stay with the portness. I absolutely love it. I gotta give you on that
And
one.
then again, it could be the worst port ever against the best team ever, and I would pick Port and go on. But that's the head part saying,
Mhm,
right? Everything that you said about the Sydney game works for me here. I'm absolutely terrified because I don't know neither the port that will come up nor the Saints. So it can happen. Anything can happen. So
mhm,
Port can go and win big and can have a humongous disappointment or a close game that goes, for a coin toss at the
mhm,
end. So this is probably the game that will be um, the most difficult to predict. Yeah,
mhm,
in a way that although North Sydney is probably the closest one, this one is the hardest to predict because the teams are really it could be in anywhere, anytime. So we don't know enough about Port, and we don't know enough about the Saints to say with precision that this is what's going to happen. So this game is going to be uh, great, crazy. At least from it could settle down soon, right? But at the bounce, it's going to anything can happen. That's so. But again, I'll pick Port.
I'm gonna tip Port only because I'm going off of how their form is because loss, win at home, loss on the road, win at home. So I'm gonna stay with it just because again, Saints sometimes they leave Marvel. It changes a little bit. So I'm gonna tip Port in this one. I have that feeling back at home, a little bit of home cooking in front of the crazy Port fans. I think just enough so they'll get it done. But this is another one. I agree with you, just like North Sydney, fascinating one because it can go either way. And then to pull up the round out at Optus Stadium, we see Fremantle take on those pesky Western Bulldogs. I'm going to tip the doggies. I've been tipping against them this entire start of the season because I thought their injuries were going to hit it. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to see. I'm hoping I'm not a reverse jinx here, but we'll see. So I'm going to tip the doggies in this one. I know usually Optus Stadium is an absolute fortress for the Western Australian teams, but this year not so much. Tipping the Western Bulldogs in this one, thinking they've just been able to scrap some wins. Fremantle, I just don't trust them right now.
I I don't. It's a clash of two teams that are untrustworthy, right? I don't trust Frio at all. I may trust a bit more of the dogs, but not that much. Um, and Frio is supposed to win, and that's what scares me. Is scare what scares me the most. Because they love to disappoint.
Hmm.
You know, when everything seems to be now they come from huge win against the rival and now a home game, right? They could make a statement and now we are going to make finals this year. That this is our season, and usually they come short in those games. Yeah, I want to pick Freo, but I can't. Well, I'll go with Footscray too.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Like I said, I just don't trust the Dockers. They haven't shown me that they can score enough consistently to be able to do that. So, Paolo, that is it. That is all 8 games tipped. Again, Hawthorne and Essendon will take a seat on the couch and enjoy the bye round. That is everything. A fun and a very fun conversation to have with you. 'Cause again, I love meeting fellow footy fans that are just as excited as me. I had a blast talking with you about Port. You're just as much of a footy fan as me. So it has been fantastic to sit down and talk with you. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast again.
No, I need to thank you for the opportunity to talk. It's not common to talk about footy, right? It's really hard to find people that are
Mhm.
that follow the game and are willing to talk about. So when those opportunities come, I'm always open because it's a huge pleasure.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. I love all my footy fellow fans, no matter in Australia or outside. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our round review. Again, if you like what you were listening to, if you like the way this old American talks about the footy, please like and subscribe again. More footy coverage, state league coverage again. There should be a VFL show that have just went out just before this. Sandful and Waffle reviews for the first month of the season will be coming out here in the next few weeks, so keep an eye on that. And that'll do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals, and we'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.